Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for spending this time with me. Well, I had an eventful start of the day today. Let me tell you a little bit about it before I get into this great old show. Well, you know, our KPFT station, the Pacifica Network station, is in Fun Drive. And what happened is I went out there this morning and I said, you know, they called me in and they said, Egberto, we need you to do some work today when you get out here and help us pitch for us and all that good stuff. And I did my duty and I went to pitch and I left. I said I had to get back here to this studio here to do our Politics Done Right show for the Daily Show. And I'm getting into the car. And what happens? All the lights on the dashboard comes on when I make that turn on Westheimer Drive. And I make that turn and I'm like, oh my God, I'm 40 miles away from home and here are all these lights on. You know what I want to do? I always knew this car was on its last drive because, I mean, it had some blown oil gaskets, and I said I was going to drive it till the alternator was filled with oil and no longer produced electricity. And it lived through the Harvey flood at the airport. I was in Portland and left the car at the airport, and it flooded. And all of that good stuff, and the car still lasted. It was an Infiniti 1998 i30. It lasted, and I said, you know what? I'm going to drive this stuff, and I'm going to drive this stuff till I drive it into the ground. And you know what? I drove it into the ground today. Leaving KPFT, I saw all those lights on, and I'm hitting the 59 freeway, and I said, just hold on. Just hold on. Get me home. Just hold on. Hold on. Get down on Kingwood Drive, and the car started to cough. The car started to cough. Said, come on, I only have about 3 or 4 more miles to go. A little bit more to go. The thing held on. The thing held on. And I got into the driveway, and voila, I got the car sort of parked. My good old buddy was there helping me fix the gate, and he was parked in my spot, and I kind of twisted in. And I didn't want to turn the car off because I knew if I turned the car off, it would never again turn on. So I went ahead and I didn't turn the car on. I didn't turn the car on. All right, I didn't turn the car. Well, I eventually turned the car off, you know, and we started to move the car. We started to try to do it. It didn't go anywhere. The car is dead. R.I.P. Rest in peace. My 20-year-old car is gone. I'm on the market for a cheap car that is conducive for driving for a full-time political activist. I placed that stuff on the site, and it's interesting some of the comments that I got. But anyhow, interesting some of the comments. We are going to have a great show for you today, and please come on and keep on listening. We're going to talk about women. Look, the show today is going to be about this. I'm going to talk about wanting to get women elected. That's what we want to do. But also, I'm a man. So in saying these things, I want to make sure to lay something out to all the women that are listening. I promise you I am not a mansplainer. If at some time it seems that I became a mansplainer in the way I'm saying things, forgive me and correct me. That's what all these things are here for. If I screw up, correct me. But remember, it would simply be out of love for equality, love for equity, love for gender equality, and all the stuff that I stand for. I'm saying these things up front just in case for all the millennials that I hang with. These women are completely. I get no chances of making mistakes from a gender standpoint. So if I do screw up, just type it in there. And because remember, if I screw up, others are screwing up, and you can teach us something on the line. But anyhow, the show today is going to be, what is the show going to be? It is time that we elect women to office now. Look, I know guys are running, and they're good guys running, and we need to get some of those good guys elected too. But a lot of guys, I think, now need to sit on the sideline and testosterone has done its job. I had 3 wonderful women on Politics Done Right at KPFT Pacifica Network yesterday. 3 women running here in the Harris County area, in the Houston area in Harris County. These were Diane. When you're really under doing your thing, you kind of forget names. We had Penny Shaw, who is running for Commissioner for Precinct 4. We had Diane. Oh my God, Diane, you're going to hate me for not saying your last name right now, but running for district clerk. And we had Marilyn running for district clerk, and Diane running for county clerk. These are all women that need to get elected. All women that need to get elected. They spoke very well on the show yesterday, and you can see why it is something we have to get done. There are a lot of women I noticed that are running right here in the Harris County area, and I think it is imperative that we start looking into getting these women elected, because I tell you what, after you hear the blog of the week, and again, as I mentioned to some folks, if you hear that I make some sort of a gender mistake, make sure to correct me, because that's the only way we know we're making mistakes. If we make a mistake, for you guys to go ahead and gender correct. Hi, let's see, Michael Davis. Hi, William McLeod. Bill McLeod. Bill is running. Bill McLeod is running. He's one of the good guys, the good progressive guys running for Congress this time around. Make sure and for judge, make sure and get him elected. We also, hey, welcome, Deborah. How are you doing? Deborah says, but not all women candidates are created equal. You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. Mary Ellen Reese, welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. And for those that I can't see on the scroll, welcome aboard as well. Anyhow, we are going to, what I'm going to try to do is start urging folks to do something. First of all, guys, if there are competent, progressive women that decide that they want a particular position and they are just as competent as you are, I think it behooves us right now to, in the matter of getting equity in political candidates, sit out. One of the reasons, people have said, would you ever run for Congress? Probably not, or I definitely not. And worse, if there was, not worse, but better if there is a woman in any of these particular things. It's not about making room. It's about, again, equity. Anyhow, before I get any further, I want to remind folks that these are all internet programs as well as network programs. We're in about 3 or 4 different networks. I'd like you to remember to share, and share. It is important for you to share these programs based on the types of algorithms that the corporatocracy has imposed, including Facebook and Google. It is a lot more difficult to get coverage on your show. The funny thing about it is what they're doing to determine if your show is going to be processed is twofold. One is beneficial, the other one isn't. One is saying if people want to hear you and they share you, it means that you're offering something that people in that domain likely want. My contention is the people who follow our programming want our programming, so I'm asking you all to share it on your page, share it on your wall, share it anywhere you can. Likewise, they want the other option that Facebook wants to do is Facebook a lot of times wants you to what they call boost your show or boost it. One of the reasons, there is a categorical reasons that some of us don't do that, and that has to do with, as an example, let's say Politics Done Right has over 80,000 folks over the several pages that we have that we brought into this fold. We don't see why why it is that Facebook should want us to do even more. But anyhow, before I should say any further ado, I think you guys know what time it is.
It's time for the weekly blog post.
Okay, the title of the weekly blog post today is "What Want Family-Friendly Policies? Then Elect Progressive Women." Again, repeating. Want family-friendly policies? Elect progressive women. Females female voters outnumber male voters, and not by a little bit, by quite a darn bit, female voters. In fact, in a lot of successes that we had in the progressive base over the last several months in Virginia, over the last several months in Alabama, over the last several months in New Jersey, and these other places, we really have to give a big thank you to women. And why do I say a big thank you to women? At this point in our history, there are preponderance for white men to vote extraordinarily in large numbers for conservative candidates, which means it's not enough for any one group to overpower such a large group, and that's what women have been doing. I don't know how many families have been broken up because of because of that, but women, for all practical purposes, have either saved the day or not saved the day. They were responsible, specifically white women were responsible for, and when I say, please take that with a grain of salt, the way I'm interpreting this, my dear friends. But white women overperformed for Donald Trump, and for all practical purposes in several states, that was the difference in giving Donald Trump the presidency. But whenever they get pissy as mad, they also correct, and I expect that is exactly what we're going to see happening in the 2018 election in November. Women will carry the day. Women will outperform. And as I think, who just said that? Deborah just said, remember, Egberto, all women are not created equal. Don't we know that, Deborah? But we know who you are, and we know that you're making sure the right people vote in the right places. Anyhow, female voters outnumber male voters. In fact, it's a percentage women are more reliable voters. One must then ask, why is it that Americans continue to get policies that negatively affect women? Policies that negatively affect women. Just look around. Just about every policy that we have is generally man-centric. You don't hear anybody talking about getting rid of Viagra. You don't hear anybody, but you hear people talking about getting rid of contraceptives. So we have to be cognizant of all those particular issues. Yes, it is true. We have a condition where policies negatively affect women. One must explore that question. One has to explore that question. There are several policies that, if implemented, would make life better and create an equitable society for all, irrespective of gender. Women birth our offsprings. Historically, they were responsible for rearing the kids and taking care of the home. Patriarchy, the male structure, codified their roles. Religion and their guiding documents, written by whom? Written by males, made those encoded structures seem divine, the way things are supposed to be. You go to church today, you hear the same thing people's been probably hearing for who knows how long. You know, it's all a male-centric thing. I remember telling my daughter several times, I want you to ask your pastor one thing. Why is it that I see in this church women doing the vast majority of the work, but somehow the leadership, the pastor, the assistant pastors, the deans, the deacons are all men? I don't know if my daughter asked her pastor that. I don't think she did. I know she would if it were today. I'm coming to you in a second, 609, right after the blog of the week. So I don't know if she asked the question, but I tell you what, it turns out my wife became one of the first female deacons in the slate of deacons, that last slate of deacons, first woman deacon at the church, at that particular Baptist church. I am going to continue with the blog of the week, but since I have a caller in, let me go ahead and bring the caller. Remember where we were in the blog. We spoke about women outnumber men in voting. Policies are generally male-centric, which means many times they hurt women. And we went ahead and explained the patriarchy behind that. Now let's go ahead and get this caller in and see if it has something relevant beforehand. Okay, caller from 609. Who do I have the honor of speaking with?
Hello, Egberto. This is Dr. Fred Infortunio.
Senor Fontunio, talk to me.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you quite well. Can you hear me?
Hi. I can hear you quite well. I'm in the car, so I'm trying to be careful. I had something funny to bring to your to your audience.
Yes, go
and
ahead.
I was thinking about a Texas bologna sandwich, and that's.
So you mean we went from talking about women to a Texas
Patrick-
bologna sandwich? Well, go
Right.
ahead. Tell me about the bologna sandwich.
Two pieces of Texas toast with Abbott, Paxton, Patrick, and Cruz in it.
Okay.
It's silly, I know.
No, but let me
Well,
let me
I
hear
thought
what.
maybe some of your audience can come up with better pieces of toast.
So you're making a funny joke about two pieces of toast and bologna that contain, who are those now? Patrick and who else?
Abbott, Patrick, Cruz, and Paxton.
Oh, okay. Now tell me, what am I supposed to tell the audience to do with that, my dear friend?
Find out what they belong between.
Okay, great. Well, look, stay on the show, doctor. Stay on the show. I'm going to be back to you if you stay on. Let me go ahead and continue with the blog of the week, where our stuff is about want family-friendly policies. It is imperative then that you elect women. And folks, the telephone lines are open, 646-716-5812. Again, that number is 646-716-5812. And of course, you can leave messages like Chase K. Escamilla has done, Michael, and we're going to read those in a minute. Anyway, let me kind of reread the last sentence, which says, patriarchy, the male structure codifies their roles. Religion and their guiding documents written by males made those encoded structures seem divine. Males codified the subservience of women. Yeah, males codified that women must be subservient. And the vast majority of the oppressed adopted the value, or rather, and the vast majority of the oppressed adopted the values of the oppressor. You find that in just about any oppressed class, whether at some point it applies to women, black people, Latinos, Asian, or whatever. There is some coalescence between the slave and master at some time. In fact, I'll tell you a few stories about that. I mean, you take a look at certain cultural issues and certain things that people do with their bodies. You find that tends to be true. Okay, let's continue with that. Let's see where I'm at in the prose. Males codified subservience of women. This behavior is no different than occurs with any oppressed groups. Slaves taking on the morals of the masters, citizens adopting the values of their corrupt rulers. There are always those who are fooled by the structures of oppression designed to empower just a few. Unfortunately, many times the staunchest opposers of these liberators are the oppressed. You know, I always wondered, I remember telling my father one time, we were over here speaking in the kitchen before he died, and I said, you know what, I really could not have lived in the early days, because I would not have tolerated the treatment that the oppressed tolerate, that black folk tolerated, that all these, I would be one dead person if I had to live through those indignities. And he smiled. But anyhow, I want to repeat that. Unfortunately, many times the staunchest opposers of these liberators are the oppressed. A classic example, and this is how I see it at least, and maybe somebody can correct me, was the non-election of Hillary. Yes, Hillary got the vast majority of the vote, but she didn't get the votes that she should have gotten in the regions that she should have gotten, and the race should not have been close because, one, she was the most qualified person running in that election, and two, it's hard to believe that women would somehow elect somebody that was bona fidely less competent, when we've always spoken about the competency of women relative to men. It is hard to understand, and I still find it hard to understand, how any single woman could pull the plug for Donald Trump. Someone that has demeaned you, someone that looked at you as lesser than, someone that looked at you as an object, someone that has been misogynistic, sexist, and that you had a woman, whether you hate her or not, that was competent, that didn't get the vote. Unfortunately, many times the staunchest opposers of these liberators are the oppressed. How does one explain that 53% of white women voted for a sexist misogynist over likely the most competent person who happened to be a woman? The structures of indoctrination created by a patriarchal system are the reason. You would never see enlightened women are shattering that aberration. You would never look at me and just look at it and say, oh, you're just so terrible. How could you be so XYZ and call them names? I understand deeply that this has to do with indoctrination. And this is not only indoctrination from, there are all kinds of indoctrination. There's gender indoctrination, racial indoctrination. A lot of women in the church believe what they read in their good book, which makes them subservient to males, whether they are more capable or not. Good that there are a whole lot more progressive churches that are coming around that's changing that orthodoxy. Now, once we destroy patriarchy, policies will change. When Congress refuses to pass sensible family-based laws because it will cost business too much, they've missed the point. I want to repeat that because I want to make an important concept here. Once we destroy patriarchy, policies will change. When Congress refuses to pass sensible family-based laws because it will cost business too much, they've missed the point. Society should never adapt to business, ever. Society is not supposed to adapt to business. It is the responsibility of our enterprises to respond to the needs of the community first. You see, that is where we are all backwards in thinking. Our indoctrination have taught us to think that way. It's business first. If we do X, it will affect business in this particular manner. If we do Y, it would affect business. No. The first thing that we ought to ask is, what does society need first? Then you create a business structure around community. That is what humanity is all about. And starting for a long time, it hasn't been so, but it has been made worse by something called the Powell Manifesto, the Powell Memo, the Powell Letter, which realized that when people became more intelligent, they realized the concept that I just spoke about. It's not us working for business. It's not us working for a market. It's not us working for corporation. It is the existence of these entities to make society better for us. We have to get that internalized. We have to be able to say healthcare is a right. Until we get there, we will continue with the same priorities, mispriorities. Those women that voted for Trump because he was powerful, because he seemed like he was assertive, because he said business first, because he was going to run the United States like a business. I'm sorry, you don't run a government like a business. That's exactly how you don't run a government. I don't want an efficient government that runs as efficient as a business can, because an efficient government that runs as efficient as a business says something that is very important. It says, you know what? If you are going to cost too much, you're not worthy. If you have certain type of diseases, you're not worthy. That is when business comes first. So far in America, business and politics have been dominated by mostly males with a deficient amount of empathy. They could only see through their eyes without ever attempting to see through the eyes of others, particularly women. As such, politicians adopted policies and laws with a male bias. Birthing kids is a necessary job that males cannot perform. Hell, you could actually call it a male deficiency. Our laws must reward and not penalize that reality. We can't have kids, but if we don't have kids, we don't have a society. If we don't have kids, the species dies. There must be adjustments made to ensure pregnancies have no impact on the career path of women, period. I have a typo, on the career path of women, period. Because that half of the equation is just as necessary as the other half of the equation. So why should one penalize because biology says you are the one who carries the kid, while both of you produce the kid? You see? If you are this way, that's what reality tells you. Or that's what reality does not tell you. Okay? So let me repeat that. Birthing kids is a necessary job that males cannot perform. Our laws must reward and not penalize that reality. There must be adjustments made to ensure pregnancies have no impact on the career path of women. Period. I'm not mansplaining now. Women, help me out here. And my millennials, help me out here. You know I'm not doing that. Will this cost business? Absolutely. Companies do not exist in a vacuum. It is a part of society. That women are responsible for birthing has been a subsidy to men since the inception of the family unit. Repeating, that it is you women who give birth, that is you women who always reared kids. That was a subsidy. You see, when you change the way you put words, how things change? You know, if it were a different parlance, men would be calling it a subsidy. When we give things to the poor, we call it a subsidy. When we give things to some XYZ corporation, it's a subsidy. So then, if you're giving us something we can't do, is that not a subsidy? It's all about context. It's all about it's all about words. It's all about how you do it. Think about that. And you know what? If you guys start explaining that stuff to all these guys, I bet they're going to start saying, hey, wait a minute. I guess there's something to that. So there must be adjustments made to ensure pregnancies have no impact on the career of women, period. Will that cost business? Yes, absolutely. Companies do not exist in a vacuum. It is a part of society. That women are responsible for birthing has been a subsidy to men with the exception of the family. The patriarchal structure, validated by religious doctrines written by males, left the rearing of kids mostly for women. It is clear that that structure stymied women who were looking for upward mobility within their organizations. While it is taboo to critique any one religion for its treatment of women, society must mitigate societal realities that ensure all have options. Think about that. Sensible gender-neutral family leave is imperative. Additionally, just like K-12 is codified into law and covered by taxes, we must include child care for working parents as well. It evens the playing field and does not penalize families. The above are just examples of 3 issues. There are likely dozens more, but this is just for illustrative purposes. So how do we achieve effective policies that support the family? Many give simplistic answers. They say more women should run for office. But is that a guarantee? Not necessarily. After all, how effective has Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas been for civil rights? How effective has he been for civil rights? Indoctrination is powerful, folks. And many times, the aggrieved ones do not provide the support necessary to remove them from bondage. At times, it can be a struggle. If America is to get the change it needs, its politicians must reflect society. Those who govern must look like the country in every respect, gender, race, religion, etc. But to ensure that we take real family values into account, those who most take care of families should play that pivotal role. Progressive women must put themselves on the line. It is only they who have the know-how and the authority to direct that necessary societal change, because while others can empathize, you know what? They've lived it. Folks, this is a call-in show, 646-716-5812. Again, that number is 646-716-5812. Let me bring back the good doctor while I look at the Facebook page. Senor Antonio, talk to me. What you thought about the blog of the week? Talk to me.
Slow down.
I'm sorry, Bertha. How are you doing there?
I am doing
I
fine.
think the blog of the week. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good. My doctor was in social cultures, and I looked at the machismo, the power distance, the uncertainty avoidance of societies
Right?
and collectivism. And what you're talking about is I've been analyzing and looking at the Republican group. They're highly machismo.
Right?
And this is why the women that belong to those groups actually will look for the highly power distant leader, which is what Trump presented.
Right.
Okay? That doesn't
Doctor, let me ask you to stop.
work. Or it
Doctor,
does
let
work
me ask
for
you to stop
certain
one second
societies.
because
Then you go to Saudi Arabia, it
Doctor?
works and things like that.
Doctor,
But in
Doctor.
the more educated and enlightened society like ours, which has a lot more individuality,
yes.
the women need to be counted in. We really have to include the women. But the trouble is, they themselves don't know how oppressed they are. And if you look at Gerd Hofstede, I just put that name in if you want to look at it,
Right.
for the cultural dimensions.
Right?
And it describes women as being nurturing and inclusive, and men are more independent or individual as such.
Okay, Doctor, hold
and
one second.
They do not work. Go ahead.
Doc, yeah, the reason I just kind of put your mic on hold because it seems like you couldn't hear me, but I'll put you back on. But I'm a bit uncomfortable with you and I talking like this about women because and look, whoever, there is bound to be a woman with a telephone listening right now. Please give a call because you don't want. Hold on a second, Doctor. Let me just finish this here. You don't.
Go ahead.
You don't want to have two guys talking necessarily like this. It so happened that it's a subject I brought three women onto my show, pushing these elections a couple days ago. I mean, yesterday. I would like to have more input from.
I heard them yesterday.
Yeah. So okay, go ahead now, Doctor.
Okay. This is something that needs to be looked into and understood in order to convert our culture to a more feministic culture. The Norwegian, Scandinavian cultures are more feministic because of the geopolitical problems or association with the cold weather, and they needed to work together more.
Yes.
There are ways to improve our society. This is not something you and I are going to be able to discuss in a 5-minute discussion on the air.
Understood.
I just wanted to say hello and remind everybody I'm running for House District 130, which is in northwest Harris County. And I want to talk a little bit about the neglect of women in the state of Texas. You know that Texas has the worst maternal death rate in the country.
Yes, I do know that.
And it also has, it also has one of the worst, horribly terrible death rate among the black population. I think it's 90 mothers die per 100,000.
Which is terrible. It's worse than Cuba.
In the first year of giving birth.
Yes.
And that's because the Texas government really doesn't take care of women.
Right.
And then add to that, the infant death rate is also very high in the state of Texas, again, because the Texas legislature and the leaders in Abbott and Paxton, etc., they look down upon women essentially.
Well,
and they don't believe that women have the rights to the medical care that they deserve.
Well, I think that is some of what I was talking about. There's a bias. There's a male bias in all the things that we do. If it affects men, they can empathize with it. You know, I've always said that it doesn't take. You don't have to be a woman to understand women issues. You don't have to be a black person to understand black person issues. You don't have to be a Latino to understand a Latino's issues. You just have to be able to empathize, right? You have to be able to empathize. So
Absolutely.
That now, what we have is a severe lack of empathy in that cabal that we have in Austin, and that is why we need you guys who are running to do something about that. Of course, you know, when you get up there, when you get elected, we are going to be in your skin. Go ahead, Doc.
The lack of empathy is extraordinary. It's unbelievable that these people who have wives and mothers would. The thing is, they are wealthy. These people are wealthy, and what I'm talking about, the maternal death rate, doesn't happen to the very, very wealthy. It happens to the middle class and the lower class.
Right.
I mean, the poor.
Right.
And they don't care. They say, and they have a feeling. Well, look, I survived and I became very wealthy. Well, maybe they became very wealthy because they happened to be sitting on a piece of land that had oil, or their father helped them pull themselves up by the bootstraps. But if you don't have boots,
it doesn't matter if you don't have boots.
You can't pull yourself up by the bootstraps.
Right. If you don't have boots, you ain't got straps, right? Right. Go ahead.
You know, I didn't. You know, I'm ready to. I was ready to retire, but when I saw what the Texas government and the federal government with Trump, etc., are doing to the people, I said, "No, look, folks, we got to stand up." And I'm fairly articulate, and do something and help everybody to get to a society which looks after the common good. Because if we look after the common good, everybody benefits. You know this tax cut that we just went through? You know what the funny part is? That the wealthy are actually going to lose money because it's going to depress the economy?
Well, you know, that look,
in the long run?
Yes. You know, what is interesting is that being rich doesn't mean that you're smart. All right? Being rich, you know, just like the poor person look for their stomach first, that rich person looks for their money first. And they don't look long term as far as how money grows or anything of that sort. They just look there. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they're smart. And that is something that we have to try to remind Americans about, that being rich does not mean you're smart. We kind of worship wealth here, but that means very little. I mean, I used to tell folks I have more concern.
Okay.
Are you okay? I have more concern for my stock broke.
No, my wife was just telling me I have to get onto 610 South.
Oh, you're on the freeway.
I'm trying to be very careful.
Okay, be very careful. I don't want to be responsible for you.
Too important of a conversation at this point.
Yeah, but anyhow.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And they don't necessarily. They've done a great job in convincing the population that they're the ones to be looked up to, but meanwhile, they're hurting us. They're hurting the population.
Right.
They don't care about the common good. They say, work hard and get there. But the thing is, if you don't have the
means.
What is it? The
means. If you don't have the means.
If you weren't born with a privilege.
Right.
You don't have that privilege. You don't have those boots. You can't pull yourself up by the bootstraps. And they try and make that. They can't have a decent wage. My wife is, throwing things in my ear. They don't have a decent wage. They don't have the ability to get promoted. They don't have the health care. And they say the education is not available to them. And the people who are wealthy say, hey, look, go get yourself an education. Well, wait a second now. You know how much my education cost?
Exactly.
It costs a lot of money.
Yeah, well, I mean, and those are the kinds of things that we have to cover. But, going back to the subject at hand as far as electing women, now you are running, how many candidates are you running against? I'm curious in your race.
I'm only running against one, thank goodness, son. He's an MD and an anesthesiologist, and I've looked at his votes, and he actually voted to make it more expensive for women to have medical care, and then he voted horribly against inoculations. How can somebody? He's an anti-vaxxer. How can a doctor be an anti-vaxxer?
I have no
There's
idea.
No brains in that.
That's crazy.
Horrible.
Well, let me read some notes now. We have Michael Rudin said some people don't know how to stop talking. I don't know I don't think he was referring to you. I think he was talking about somebody else. Okay, we have Michael Rudin. Cold weather makes more gender. Cold weather makes more gender equality in society. Ha! What was that? Was that a joke? Okay. What another? Let's see what else we have. We have from Michael Rudin. To date, 300. I'm going to put your speaker off until you're settled. All right. We have, let's see, Michael Rudden, good topic. To date, 390 women are planning to run for the House of Representatives. That is great. It's not enough, but it's great. A figure that's higher than at any point in American history. Michael, that is a good get. We need more. 22 of them are non-incumbent black women. For scale, there are only 18 black women in the House. And let me see more here. 18 black women in the House. And let's see. Meanwhile, 49 women are likely to be running for the Senate, more than 68% higher than the number who'd announced at the same point in 2014. Love to hear that. Deborah Moore says, but not all women candidates are created equal. The woman running for this 02 congressional district in Texas, I know who she's talking about, Republican primary, is awful. We need women who support women. Exactly. That is what the complaint was about earlier, Deborah. Okay, we also have William McLeod. Silky Malik is a great choice. I love Silky Malik. I spoke to Silky at that, actually I've at the forum in Humble, and I think we met at the Indivisible meeting as well. Malik is a great candidate, and Malik is going to be going places. Let's see. Rudden, yes, already shared. Thank you very much for all those who are sharing. Please share more. My good friend Chase Escamilla. Chase has been giving me, let me tell you about this young man, folks. Chase Escamilla. If you guys have some internet work, or you have some internet working that you need to learn about how to promote things on the internet, El Señor Escamilla knows all about it. Talk to that young man and get some assistance. And again, you may be able to hire him to do a few things for you, and he'll do a good job for you. He really knows his way around. So remember that. Tom Hines, in church, women do all the work except collecting the monies. Well, it so happened that is, you know what, that is something that I see a lot for real. When I just thought about it, that is true. But you know what? All of that is changing. The heck are we talking about now? I don't get it. Yes, you do. Oh, crap. Another school shooting. Not again. Yes, but that happened about 2 or 3 hours ago, I believe. Women were the last to be given the right to vote. Can you believe that even black people got the vote before women? That tells you. And let me qualify something, because a lot of people, when they're talking about the oppressed or whatever, they talk about minorities like black folk and Latinos and Asians or whatever. And, and they give all these individual group, the men in these groups get a pass. Black men get a pass. Latino men get a pass. Asian men get a pass. Do you know how terrible, not all, but the vast majority of male ministers are in the church relative to gender equality? Horrendous. The same apply in the Latin church. I can't tell you about the Asian church. I can't tell you about the others, but I can tell you about the Latin church, and I can tell you about the Latino church, and I can tell you about the black church. So when we're talking these issues, let's not isolate the realities based on race. Gender, I wrote an article for Daily Kos a few months ago that said the following. Sometimes, I don't remember the title I gave it, but in effect I said, I got a lot of people hit me up on it, but nobody has completely convinced me yet that sexism is actually worse than racism. And I got hit hard, not only by, I would have thought black women would have agreed with me mostly. They slaughtered me at Daily Kos. Some sent me some independent thing. Egberto, I love what you write, but this time you're absolutely wrong. For those that are listening to me, I want to open that debate up again. So you guys send me some notice. I kind of want to see what my current audience thinks about that. Anyhow, Alan Blaines, welcome aboard. I don't think I've spoken to you before. The problem appears to be that Trump is willing to act like a low-level blue-collar person in face of the Democratic establishment wanting to abandon the lower working class. Thus, Trump probably putting on the, Trump is probably putting on the lunch bucket act just to emphasize the point. Trump has been listening quietly and respectfully in the White House events over the past week. If the Democratic Party doesn't start to act on these realities, the blue wave is in danger. You must be reading what I wrote. You saw what I said about the blue wave turning into that ripple? Of course you know what happened then. I got slaughtered again. Because it was, you're not reading the polls. I thought you were scientific. I thought you listened to... Well, it's not about scientific. And if you think the average person cares about science or anything like that, they don't. You can't go ahead and talk science and politics in the same phrase, because politics has more to do with emotions, heart, and all that kind of stuff than science. Otherwise, people wouldn't continue to vote against their interests like they do now, would they? Okay, Clarence Thomas is. This is Michael Rudden again. You know, Michael, I love the way you are very active on this side. I'm gonna have to call you the wingman and start giving you some kudos before the show starts. Thank you so kindly for doing this, buddy. Clarence Thomas is a bad example. He's a conservative. If you look at history, it becomes clear that conservatives are usually against civil rights for minorities. Can make an argument that they're still probably against civil rights for minorities. Of course. What's the word in conservative? Conserve. Conserve how things were. Conserve. Progressive, moving forward. Progress. That's what it stands for. You know, that's why some of us are progressives, some of us are conservatives. The problem is a lot of people haven't yet equate what conservatives really mean to them. And this doesn't only mean black people or Latinos or Asian or whatever, things like that. You know, what I'm trying to do is tell all my folks that you have to remember something, okay? When these people talking, they're not talking about us they're talking about America in the aggregate. The only reason they split things up is for one reason. I can split you guys up and I can get whatever the hell I want out of you. Remember my favorite phrase, we unite Appalachia, the ghettos and the barrios, and we win. And that's what we intend to do here. That's why, if you didn't notice, my following, my folks are from all over the darn country. And you know why? Because that's how we want it to be. We want it to look like the darn country. That is what we want, and that's how we're going to make the difference, folks. Anyhow, Michael Rudden, yes, I am always a few hours behind in you. Hey, not to worry, man. Since at Starbucks, what I do to kind of keep up to speed is I kind of scroll through. I have this news feed. You should try it. What is it called? I don't quite remember what it's called, but you just get that application that every so often it keeps you up to date with the latest news. You go ahead and select the particular RSS feeds that you want. It populates it, and you're always ready to go. That's the way we do it. Let me bring back in the good doctor. I wish more people would call, and I wish, even in the comments that we have here, right? Males are always ready to comment. Males are always ready to talk. They're always ready to give their opinions, right? Hey, I'm always ready to give my damn opinion, folks. Women, come on. Fight. To come in and tell folks what you have to say. Come on, Senor Doctor. Come on in. You're back in.
This is a wonderful topic again.
Yes.
Racism, I can move from topic to topic, is based on economics.
Yes.
If I can keep your group down, my group makes more money and has more power. And this is what men have done to women over the millennia.
Yes.
They keep the group down, and women have learned to expect that. And this is something that you and I and all people who are progressive, and as you just said, progressive looking forward to the future, must educate everybody, because if the women are as functional and as the men are, put it this way,
that's not
they're as smart as we are.
Yeah.
And if we have more smart people working, the society benefits.
Yeah. No.
I have a little interesting point.
Go ahead.
About intelligence, male and female. The men are slightly more, the actual average is exact, okay, within fractions.
Right.
But there are slightly more men at the higher 170 level, and the reason for that is men only get their intelligence from their mothers. Cannot get it from their fathers.
Okay.
Women can get it from the mother or the father, so women can be intelligent. That means a woman who has 4 brilliant sons.
Right.
And that's why it pushes the right wing, or what do you call that?
Right. I know what you mean.
I can't think of the word, on a normal curve.
Right.
It pushes it out just a little bit, but the average is exact, and it would not be brilliant men if it wasn't for the brilliant women.
Yeah, I mean...
How do you like that one?
I believe that. You know, I mean, in fact, I get into trouble sometimes because I give the contention that women are smarter than men, but men just have more braggadocious, right? And the reason why is, I take a look at some interesting things, right?
Yes.
If men have ruled the world for a long time, but have you noticed that somehow women are able to get whatever the hell they want when it comes to working on the individual basis? Think about that. There's some magic to that somehow, and it's not what folks think it is. You know what I mean? So there's something else working there. But folks, 646-716-5812. The show is almost done. 646-716-5812. I am so disappointed that with all the women listeners that we have, which outnumber the men by quite a bit, that you don't call. We are not even scary. You know, I would hope that some of you would call. I know you're probably in front of your Facebook and all of that, but guess what? Guess what Facebook has? Facebook has that little utility that you can actually make a phone call to a landline or a cell phone directly from your Facebook. You know, so there's really nothing that's stopping you. 646-716-5812. Why don't you call? Anyhow, folks, 646-716-5812. Let me do a refresh and see if I have anything else new to say, Doctor, before I go and start getting ready to shut this baby down. I'm going to give you a chance to give a closing statement since you happen to be the only caller today. Let's see. Michael Rudin quoting a Lee Camp interview with Harmon Leon and Ted Rall. Pardon, it's a long one. Okay, I'm going to read your long quote because I think, whoa, you weren't kidding. It was a long one. Okay. I'm going to try to do this really fast, but I'm going to do it. When you're writing a book on Trump supporters, if you just want jokes to fly, it's pretty much shooting fish in a barrel. But if you want constraint to humanize these characters, having a little bit of empathy, not in agreeing with their ideology, which is in fact we don't, to see how did they get to the place and what thought process. Harmon Leon, that's a very good one. So several different little quotes. There's another one from Ted Rall. There's a lot of socioeconomic context to this block. There's an entire chapter about people who are so desperately poor that they're living in the dangerous storm tunnels under Las Vegas by the hundreds. This is the United States. There are people riding around with repo guys who are taking back people's cars, and they're not going to able to get to work anymore because they can't make a payment. America is actually a country that's been in economic decline due to rising income inequality for a long time, and I think that Trump's election was a perfect storm. But these are strains that were drawing attention to that mainstream media has not really emphasized, and it is super interesting. I'm not going to read the rest because these are all separate, but those things are all true. Yeah, we've been moving into inequality for a long time. This didn't start now. This started, look, I reiterate to every one of you folks there, you can go to my website and do a scan of the Powell Manifesto or the Powell Memo or the Powell Letter. It is a very instructive document, and it shows how the indoctrination, I don't want to say how the indoctrination began, but how the indoctrination got the power that it got. And we have billion-dollar institutions now that was created under the tenets of the Powell Manifesto that is indoctrinating the American public at large. And it's not only the American public that's being indoctrinated, it's people all over the world. It's the same reason why the country that I'm originally from would sign a treaty with this country that in effect pilfers the Panamanians. It's the same reason why somebody will sign it, the Costa Rica would sign a treaty. It's the same reason why all these guys would do the things. They are believing the crap coming from these things that were organized by a man named Lewis Powell. Read the document. It's been implemented fully, and we're living through it. And the only way we can save that is what we're doing right now. Give me a closing statement, and we're going to shut this baby down. Go ahead, Doctor.
Closing statement. I'm running for House District 130. I'm getting off at exit 9A, and I need help in getting to the Texas legislature. We need to bring some sanity and some heart and understanding of life and the way things should be.
Well,
okay, let's go back quickly to women. Get out to vote. Everybody, get out to vote. Vote Democratic. Vote for me. Okay.
Thank you so kindly. You got your free commercial, Doctor. You
Go
got
ahead.
you got your free commercial, Doctor. Okay, I mean, let me first qualify that we support no particular candidate. I do have affinity for candidates, and usually the candidates that I have an affinity for, yes, they'll appear on Politics Done Right, but there are a few that I don't have an affinity with that have also appeared on Politics Done Right. Folks, do remember this is a call-in show, but I also want to remind you that this is an independent political information show, a show that we hope to enlighten people, and none of this comes for free, whereas we did it 100% free, dependent on advertising from our website. A lot of that has dried up because of the change in algorithm. Again, the corporatocracy effect is exerting its power. So if you are so kind, look at that down below there. And if you ever want to provide a subscription level support for this show, make sure to go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright.com and be a supporter of the show. In the long run, we need to have several hundred supporters to make this show 100% viable. So please go ahead and do what you can when you can. Thank you so kindly for listening. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you know what? I am out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
1, 2, 3, 4.